we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, 9:30 EST, September 9th, 2024, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Cinemasters Reviews. Exciting show tonight. We are reviewing Beetlejuice, the newest film from Tim Burton. I say we jump right into it. Like I said, it's been 5 years since Tim Burton directed a movie, and I believe 36 years since the first Beetlejuice came out. This once again picks up not really where the last one left off. A lot of time has passed, and we are now once again following Lydia Deetz, who after Lydia Deetz, played by Winona Ryder, after everything that happened with her and her family being haunted by Beetlejuice and the Maitlands, she has now turned that fame and turned towards becoming a paranormal talk show host, who now hosts a show called Ghost House. She's in the process of dating her manager, played by Justin Theroux, and he wants to take the show in different ways. She's not quite sure she's ready to do that. She has an estranged relationship with her daughter, played by Jenna Ortega Astrid, as well as a complicated relationship with her mom, once again played by Catherine O'Hara. But wouldn't you know it, Beetlejuice is still out there. He's down out there in the great beyond, and he has a vengeful ex-wife, played by Monica Bellucci, who is looking to hunt him down. I love the first Beetlejuice. I just think there's just so much creativity, so much imagination that Tim Burton brought to that film. It really is the first Tim Burton movie that, to me, like, it kind of like was his first like original idea. Pee-wee's Big Adventure was, of course, inspired by the TV show. This was the first time that it was something from the mind of Tim Burton, and the amount of just like creative and just insane visuals that movie brings. I love the practical effects. I think the cast is great. Unfortunately, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis don't return for this film. Jeffrey Jones is not in this movie for obvious reasons. I'm not going to get into that, but it's fun to see all the returning people come back for this one, and all the new people that wanted to be a part of this movie. Of course, Michael Keaton. This was kind of like the movie that took Michael Keaton from being like a pretty well-known actor to being like, oh, this guy's kind of like a comic genius, because the character of Beetlejuice is only on screen for maybe 9 minutes, but he completely dominates every single second of that movie, to the point where you kind of have to name the movie after him. And it's just so much fun seeing both Burton back in this world and Keaton playing this character again. It's been they've been trying to get a Beetlejuice sequel off the ground for around like 10 years. I remember when it was originally going to be Katy Perry in Jenna Ortega's part, but obviously she's now aged up to the point where she can't really play Winona Ryder's daughter. But yeah, going into this movie, I was cautiously optimistic. I was really hoping Burton could capture the magic, and while I don't think this movie is amazing by any stretch of the imagination, I just think it is so much fun seeing Tim Burton direct a movie where it really seems like he's having fun and feels like he's truly in his wheelhouse. The last movie he directed was Dumbo, the live-action remake of Dumbo. That movie, it's not as bad as you may think it's going to be, but it's really nothing great, and it just kind of feels like Tim Burton's kind of on autopilot. Is how he felt with Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Really, the last movie I really really enjoyed was Big Eyes, and I think before that, it was probably Big Fish, which is a movie I love. But yeah, just seeing him go back to the world of practical effects, seeing him go back to like into the world of comedy. It's really just fun seeing Tim Burton, who is such a wacky and imaginative guy, see him in his wheelhouse once again, making these creative movies. And I'm really happy to see that he was able to successfully return to the director's chair to make something that has this much joy and this much creativity. And the other guy I think you gotta thank for this is Michael Keaton. I think this movie was never going to be made if they couldn't get Michael Keaton back into the role of Beetlejuice. I don't think there's any actor who really has the amount of like energy to play a character like Beetlejuice, who has that sinister edge, but is also just so much fun, which is I think is what Keaton brings to that part. Of course, he's still just caked in makeup, so he's unrecognizable, but he just emotes and just is having a ball in that makeup. And yeah, once again, he is so much fun. He's absolutely the best part of this movie. Again, if you were worrying that like Beetlejuice was going to be toned down, he's just as raunchy. He's just as like bodacious as he was just as ostentatious as he once was in the original movie. And it's really great to see that this movie knows how to use him well. He's not the lead character like he isn't in the first movie. I think that is something very effective. He's probably in it more than the first movie, but that was probably to be expected. But this movie does also have a lot of characters, including returning characters. It's really interesting. Winona Ryder kind of plays a more grounded character in this movie. Obviously, in the first movie, she's like such like a weird and like artsy child. Like she's the only one that has the ability to see the ghosts and to see the paranormal world. And in this movie, it kind of has her playing a little bit a bit more of like an airhead type character, where like she's kind of like she's definitely worn down from everything that's happened to her in the past. When we pick up on her, we learn that her dad died in a plane crash and was eventually eaten by a shark, and she just doesn't really know how to take this. Her husband died. Her husband is no longer in the picture, which is why Justin Theroux is moving in on her. She's trying to keep up a good relationship with her daughter. And Winona Ryder doesn't really play this like super big, except for maybe towards the end. And I just think that was a really interesting choice from her. But probably the person who steals the show is, aside from Michael Keaton, is Catherine O'Hara. She is having the time of her life once again as Delia Dietz. Delia in the first movie was this new mom, was this mom that had just moved into this new house. She moved in to make her husband happy, but she wants to change the whole house for her artistic vision. And Catherine O'Hara, she's one of the funniest actresses out there. She's having so much fun in this role. When we hear that her husband has died, she's like, oh man, gotta go to these like photo shoots. That way they really know how sad I am. And just everything she says is hilarious. I don't want to spoil where her character goes, but she is just having the time of her life. This movie has a ton of new characters, and while it's fun to see all these people in Tim Burton's world, I will say one of the weaker elements of this movie is I think it might have too many characters. Easily the most important new character is Jenna Ortega as Astrid Dietz. She's someone who, like I said, she has a despondent relationship with her mom. She doesn't really get along with her. Kind of feels like she's been kind of distant from her. Nick and Bo says, love Catherine. Yeah, we absolutely love Catherine O'Hara here. One of the funniest actresses alive. But she's still trying to just trying to go through high school. She's definitely an outcast in her high school. And Jenna Ortega is someone who I feel like just feels born to be in a Tim Burton movie. Like she has that like sort of darker tone to her style of acting. Definitely can play those gothic style characters, but also someone that like you can tell has a lot of heart, knows how to hit those comedic beats. And you just completely believe her as the daughter of Lydia Dietz, and I think that was just so much fun. I will say I didn't love necessarily the story that this movie has for her character. She meets a kid who lives in her neighborhood. They sort of become friends, and without spoiling anything, I think from the second this character shows up, you know exactly where the story is going to go. That was a little disappointing for me, but I do think Jenna Ortega does well with the stuff she is given. Once again, this movie has a huge cast. Monica Bellucci is the person that plays Beetlejuice's ex-wife who's looking to kill him. Justin Theroux, like I said, plays the manager of Winona Ryder's character. A lot of these characters aren't given, a lot of these actors aren't given a ton of stuff to work with. I think just the fact that this movie has an hour and 40-minute runtime, I just don't think Burton just had enough time to get to every single little idea that he wanted to do with these new characters. And I think if it just would have focused on maybe one or two less of them, I think we would have had an even more effective movie. Now, what I will say, Dan Sheehan says, is the movie any good? If you tell me that, that'd be great. I'm talking about it. I promise. I did enjoy the movie. Jenna Ortega is a great actress. Completely agree, Dan. Thank you for commenting. The one actor I did really, really enjoy in this movie was Willem Dafoe. He plays a ghost detective. Once Beetlejuice gets on the loose again, he's the one called to essentially hunt him down. This character is great. You learn that he was a failed actor who always wanted to be on like cop dramas. and every single line he gives is just something that you would find in a cheesy cop drama, and Willem Dafoe just knows how to play that well. I believe this is the first time Tim Burton has ever worked with Willem Dafoe, and those two, that actor and director pair just seems so perfect for each other that I'm surprised it's taken this long for them to finally play with each other. Dan Sheehan says Willem Dafoe should be the Joker. Honestly, if they were to make go on the older side of the Joker, I'm 100% there with you. I'm really kind of sad he never has played the Joker, but Willem Dafoe is really, really great. Another character, I can't really pull the actor, but if you saw the first movie, you know that at the end of Beetlejuice meets another ghost by the name of Bob. He has this really tiny head. He is now Beetlejuice's assistant. Got maybe 80% of the laughs in this movie. Every time Bob was on screen, it was just hilarious to see where he would go. Like everything he would do. A silent character, so he really just gets his whole character across through his big eyes and through just like his like really tiny mouth. We learned there are a ton of other Bobs in this movie, and that was really fun. So the character of Bob is really great. But yeah, I think if there's one person that was probably the most underutilized, it was probably Monica Bellucci's character. We're given this huge history as to like why she wants to kill Beetlejuice, the relationship she had with Beetlejuice, and her first scene is great. After that, she just feels kind of wasted, and it sucks to get a great actress like Monica Bellucci, who would feel perfectly at home in a Tim Burton world, and just sort of not really use her to her full potential. So that was a little bit disappointing. What I will say, something I did really love about this movie is that with Burton being back in the director's chair, he adds a lot of great details to just the background of this movie. Like there are certain points where like I wasn't even paying attention to like what was going on like immediately on screen because I was so focused on all the little details that Burton adds specifically to the Great Beyond segments towards the climax of the scene where the ghost world and the human world starts to collide a little bit more. I think it was just fun to see that. And yeah, with Burton comes Danny Elfman, and it's just so much fun to hear that great score once again on the big screen. Every time Danny Elfman makes a score, he's one of my favorite composers. He just has like that quirky nature to him, and it's just really fun to hear his music play whenever we get the chance to have a score by him. I'll admit this is not the most like original movie. It doesn't reinvent the wheel at all. But I can't lie that I had a lot of fun watching it, and I think it's just because I love both Beetlejuice and Tim Burton so much. It's just fun to see them both kind of like come back and have like this return to form, if you will. And I think for a legacy sequel, I think it's one of the better ones. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, which is how we rate movies here at Cinemasters Review, 0 being awful, 10 being absolutely incredible. I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Nothing great, doesn't reinvent the wheel by any means, but my God, Burton's having fun. Michael Keaton's having the time of his life. You have an excellent performance by Catherine O'Hara. Just fun to be back in this world. I would highly recommend you go see this movie, especially if you are a fan of Beetlejuice. If you didn't like the first movie, I don't really see this one winning you over. It doesn't really have anything that would like pull you back in. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but then again, most sequels aren't. But I would recommend to say if you are a fan of the first Beetlejuice or just want to have a good time at theater, I do think Beetlejuice is great. But yeah, thank you all for watching this episode of Cinemasters Reviews. Only one movie this week. Only had time to get to the theater just one time. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, I'm reviewing Speak No Evil, and I believe it is Killer Elite is the other movie, the new movie with Dave Bautista. So yeah, excited to watch those movies. Thank you all for watching. It always means a lot. Thank you, Nick and Bo, for commenting. Thank you, Dan Sheehan, for commenting. It's always fun when I get to read some comments. And remember, as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Yeah, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.